Hello and welcome to another edition of Choose to Challenge. I am LaWanna Bradford, Chief Operating Officer of the Bradford Group, as well as Principal of the Bradford Group Consulting, and I am so excited to have my friend, my sister, my partner here on stage with me, Miss Gloria Fleets. How's it going, Gloria?
Hi, Miss LaWanna. How are you doing today? And thank you for inviting me onto your show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm so glad you said yes, because I know your schedule is busy, and I'm like, okay, we got to figure out how to make this thing do what it do, right?
Right.
And you know, when I was thinking about this show in celebration of Black History Month, and I wanted to come at it from a different and unique angle. And for those of you that are joining Choose to Challenge for the first time, it is a platform designed specifically for messages for women, designed to challenge our thinking, challenge the systems.
Hater. And his message was anchored of the soul. And he was such a gentle giant, but yet a nice man, very nice and precise in his thinking. And C.T. Vivian, I never forget him and all the things that he's done for our community.
For those of you who don't know Dr. C.T. Vivian, he was an activist. He was a businessman, very active in the civil rights movement. And in 1969, he wrote the first book to be written about the civil rights experience, entitled Black Power, American Myth. Black Power, American Myth. And when you think about it, Gloria, there are times when we have risen up against the injustices, the systemic injustice, and we stand in pride of being Black, right? Say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. And the power that when we're unified as a community, the power that we can achieve, the mountains that we can move, often those myths come up. We're seen as rebellious. We're seen as militant, right?
Right. But they were just standing proud of what they had accomplished and how far they had come from the 40s to the 60s to the 80s to current. So, we're standing on their shoulders without a doubt. But they were Black and they were proud of the success that they had, of the trauma that they had come through and the things they had accomplished, not just as civil rights leaders, but just people from that era.
Yeah, I totally agree. When you were talking about C.T. Vivian was your first, mine was in college. My junior year, I met Jesse Jackson, because he was coming through Arizona. I was at the University of Arizona, and I was part of the Speakers Bureau. So our job was to escort, go to the airport, pick up the speakers, and escort them. So I had the opportunity to not only pick him up from the airport, but have that intimate one-on-one time with him. And back then, I'm just a kid. I'm an Army brat, travel the world. It's like, and I'm like, okay, well, here's a guy who walked with MLK. And I was like, okay, and I remember being interviewed. Now, this is just showing you, and I'm speaking now to women who have children. It's so important that we understand our history. Right. And the key lessons. So I didn't know much about Jesse Jackson other than he walked with MLK. And he was coming to the school to talk about his run for the Democratic seat for president. And I remember being interviewed, because I was the president of the Black Student Union at the time. I was interviewed on the radio show and was asked what were my thoughts about him running for president. Now, little arrogant and foolish LaWanna said, I don't know what makes him think he can be president. What has he done? But other than walk with MLK. Again, not knowing the history, not knowing his why, not knowing how critical and pivotal he and Shirley Chisholm.
Shirley Chisholm,
not recognizing the bold move at that time to say, I'm gonna rise up. Now, it may be impossible at that time, but I'm still gonna put my hat in the ring. And to those that are listening, when we're daring to do something that someone else hasn't done, it actually gives hope.
Yeah.
It lets us see, oh, it's possible. If they made it now I can, like now Madison and Mason and Josiah, they don't know a life. This is pretty powerful. They do not know a life. And this is my niece and nephew and Gloria's youngest son. They do not know a life without a Black president.
No, exactly.
They do not know a life without the fact that we could have a woman of color as the vice president.
Exactly.
Can you imagine that? So in their mind, imagine how expansive they're looking at the world as possibilities. And then you look at our parents, they were kind of like boxed. Well, we're happy we got the vote.
Exactly.
You know, we got the
Jesse
vote.
Jesse Jackson ran on hope.
On keep hope alive.
Yes.
Keep hope alive.
Yeah. I mean, that's all they had.
That's all they had. I want to read this quote that I found from Jesse Jackson. He said, "America is not like a blanket, one piece of unbroken cloth. The same color, the same texture, the same size. America is more like a quilt, many patches, many pieces, many colors, many sizes, all woven together and held together by a common thread."
That's it. That's America. That's basically the world.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I remember in 2010 when I met Congressman John Lewis. I was downtown at the office that I had in the Marriott Hotel building down across from Georgia Pacific. And I was putting one of my signs up on the window, and he come down, just brisking down the road with one of his counterparts. And I stopped him. I said, "Hi, Congressman John Lewis." He said, "Hi, how are you doing?" I said, "I'm doing fine." I said, "This is my office right here in my space." I said, "Won't you come in and look?" He said, "You have an office down here on Peachtree Street across from the Georgia Pacific building?" I said, "Yes, I do." And he said, "What is this?" I said, "It's an incubator." He said, "Oh my God, wow, this is great." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I need to know how to get some of those dollars that my tax dollars are paying. I need to know how to get some of those grant funds that your office holds." And he said, "Well, you need to make an appointment with my secretary." But he said, "But I'm so proud of you." He said, "There's not an African-American business on this strip other than across over there in the West End, but right here at Peachtree." And he said, "I'm so proud of you." He said, "I wish you the best of luck." And I said, and then everybody started congregating around us right there in my front door on Peachtree Street. And I was just so honored that he would take the time to stop on his way to court to visit and to talk with me. Good trouble.
Yeah. And I want to read that quote. And I was thinking, let me say this first. I want to read it. He says, "My philosophy is very simple." And we're talking about Congressman John Lewis. "When you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, say something, do something, get in trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble."
Yes.
And I remember when I first met him, because Gloria and I had the opportunity to work for the Metropolitan Atlanta Transit Authority, which is the 5th largest transit in the U.S.
Yes.
And it allowed us to meet a lot of movers and shakers on a national and local level, including these giants. And I remember we were at an event, it was a luncheon, and we were sitting at the table, and you're like, "LaWanna, there's Congressman John Lewis." I'm like, "Where do you go?" "Over there." I'm like, "Oh." You're like, "Go talk to him." I'm like, no, go talk to him. No, LaWanna, go and talk to him.
It was at the Eggs and Issues breakfast downtown government. Yeah. At the Marriott.
And he was so approachable, because the one thing I remember about being in his presence, when he looked at you, I felt like I was the only one in the room.
Yes.
He was so engaged in that moment, no matter how brief. Right. I was like, he saw me. He really just paused and saw me.
He focused on what was in front of him.
Yes.
He didn't look to the right nor to the left when he was talking to that person or to you. Yes.
Yeah.
Good man.
Yes. And, you think about that year, we lost three giants. We lost him. We lost Dr. C.T. Vivian. And we lost Dr. Joseph Lowery, who was our boss.
Yes. Yes.
And Dr. Lowery, again, these are all huge civil rights activists. He was walked closely with MLK. He founded the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and it's amazing that literally, when we say he's our boss, we literally worked for him. He was the chairman of the board.
And do you remember also we met Carolyn Maynard when we was over at Clark, Atlanta, with the picture that we took with them. Mayor Maynard's wife. You remember?
Yes.
When we was over at Clark, Atlanta, at the they were having the Economic Development Incubator Global Leadership Academy session, and we got to take a picture with all of them to show their strength in our community in supporting Clark Atlanta University with I think it was I don't think CTV, I think it was just Dr. Lowery and
Andrew Young. Andrew
Young and his wife was there, and quite a few other. And the president, Dr. Silvers, and was there at this event along with Katrina and her husband. It was just a nice event to see all of those people and standing on their shoulders during that time, and they allow us to come into their environment, into their space, and they wrapped their arms around us and allowed us to participate in the things that they were doing over there at Clark, Atlanta, and in their community over in the West End, along with some of the Morehouse people as well.
Yeah, and I remember when we were talking to Dr. Lowery, because my parents were there and they got to meet them, and he and my dad were joking about who had the most hair, because Dr. Lowery had a head full of hair compared to my dad, and he was calling my dad youngster, and my father is 91 right now. So and this was, what was this, like 10 years ago or so? So
yeah, it was in 2010.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was hilarious. But just to see just the humbleness of my parents being in their presence, it's like, and I was just wondering, what was going through their mind, because the things that were denied, our parents, like when my dad joined the military in 1948, it was still a segregated army. It was still segregated. When my parents got married in 1954, there were places that they could not travel. Even though my father's in the military, there were places they could not stop and eat at or sleep at when they were on their way to visit her family in Arkansas. And, when you think about, wow, and here they are sitting, talking, laughing with those that, that just really carried that mantle and bled, for the freedoms that we're experiencing today. So that was pretty cool. I want to read, got a quote from C.T. Vivian here. And he says, leadership is found in the action to defeat that which would defeat you. You are made by the struggles you choose. You're made by the struggles you choose.
That's a mouthful right there. That's like a wow moment. You just have to pause and think about what you just read.
You mentioned that you remember meeting Jesse Hill, and when I moved to Atlanta, we don't have any family in Atlanta, and I was like, oh, going to this place and don't know anyone. And my dad said, well, I need you to reach out to a good friend of mine. His name was Jesse Hill. I'm like, okay. My dad knew who Jesse Hill had become, but I did. So I'm like, okay. And when I found out who Jessica was, I'm laughing. I'm like, you and my dad are good friends. He goes, yeah, we were bunkmates in the Korean War.
Wow.
And it just stayed in touch all that time. So from the Korean War all the way to, to his death. And I mean, the moment I said who I was, he said, you're Bradford's daughter. And he invited me to his home. He had never met me. And I was just so amazed, again, with all of these that we're talking about, how open they were, how receptive they were for the young generation to come up to them. And Jesse Hill, for those of you that don't know, he's a big activist, businessman, but he was also the president and CEO of the largest Black insurance company in America, Atlanta Life Insurance.
Atlanta Life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to think, your dad had that relationship with him and you didn't know how deep it was. But then because he knew your dad and the weight that your dad carried, the honor, being in the military, he received you on the stance of your father and who he was and his integrity and his character. Of course you're Bradford, but still, we know people that have done great things, but their children haven't followed their footsteps. And I'm gonna leave it there. But he knew your father and he knew the stock that you come from. And that's something to be commended for.
Yes, and speaking of stock, but I do want to echo what you're saying just for a moment. And I'm speaking specifically to the listening audience who are, our Black and brown community. Know your worth, your value, and that you matter and you are more than enough because of the divine hand that is on your life, and that you are put here for a time such as this. Your impression on the world will never come this way again.
Right.
And it's up to you to show up, to stand up, to make a difference in your sphere of influence, and stop being a sideliner in your own life. Just felt the need to say that. Someone needs
be present.
Be present. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other person who I met, and I don't know if we were together or not. Were you with me when I met Coretta Scott King at the dinner?
Maybe not. We met her. I met her 3 times at the dinners. Okay. We was at MARTA.
Yeah. And I remember that was another one where, it was like, oh, there she is. Should I? And then I think it was you. Would you get? How many times do I have to tell you just get up? And I remember going up to her because she was at the head table. And I've met a lot of great people in my life. I've been blessed to have met 4 presidents. That is the only time that I could say I have been seriously starstruck, stumbling with my words. And if I could go back to that moment, I would have asked her a question. I just like, if you could leave me with one word, one sentence that would guide me, what would it be? But I was just like, I literally was sitting there grinning like an idiot. And I remember her saying, she looked at me and she's like, hello. And I'm like, hi. She asked me, do you have a name?
And that high pitched voice, hello.
I like I said, I have never been starstruck before, but there was something. And again, knowing, our struggle as a people, and our leaders are few. And to see this woman who was so regal, and I don't know, it was overwhelming to me. And I literally was just gaga over Coretta Scott King and walked away. And I'm like, all I said was, yeah, my name is LaWanna. I didn't even give her my last name. I mean, like, really?
And at her table was Serona Clayton.
Yes.
At her table was Serona Clayton, her and Ozzie Davis' wife. Her name escapes me.
Ruby D. Ruby D was there. Yes.
They were all at the same table because I took a picture with Ruby D while you was over there starstruck. but it was a good experience.
It
Was
was.
just, and we just have to give credit to the Metro Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority, because in external affairs and strategic planning, it allowed us to go out in the community and meet these giants.
Yes.
Gave us the training wheels, from the training wheels to the actual riding the bicycle, to being on the motorcycle, and then we was riding in the Mercedes Benz when we was meeting them. It's a metaphor. We thought we had a ride when we met them, but if it had not been for that tool that we used to get to know those people, we have to give credit to Marta, because it did give us that platform to be able to meet these people. Not to say that God wouldn't have planned us to meet them down the road, but at that point in our lives, they were there, and Marta was the tool that we used to get out to meet these people, to create partnerships and relationships along the way.
Exactly. And what Coretta Scott King says, women, if the soul of the nation is to be saved, I believe that you must become the soul.
I agree with that. Amen to that.
Yes.
I agree with that. That's another moment to just pause and think about it.
Yeah. Another person who we met, who has been influential in the Black community from the church, from the Christian presence, but also translating that in the messages in film, was T.D. Jakes.
I see where you're going. Woman Thou Art Loose.
Yes.
Another platform we were able to participate because of the organization that we were part of. Yeah, T.D. Jakes, Woman Thou Art Loose. Yes, and we got to meet him, his wife, and some of his team members. And ironic, when they showed that was over at the what was that stadium? The one downtown at the stadium downtown where they headed at.
I can't think of it.
I can't remember the stadium either, across from the park. But they had a statue in there, a plaque on the wall with the largest gathering that had been in that industry. Oh my God, he passed away. I see his face. I just can't call his name. He was a Billy Graham.
Billy Graham. I met him too.
Yes. They had a plaque inside of that stadium where he had the largest gathering. And when we met T.D. Jakes and his wife, we were standing there with Channel 5, and they showcased that T.D. Jakes was the second evangelist or minister or pastor that had been in that stadium and brought that many people, just as well as the other pastor did. And they made that a big deal about that. And that was another giant that's in the community that teaches you how to live the word, walk the word, elevate you to another dimension in the word, from grace to grace, faith to faith.
Glory to glory. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's what I love about this platform, Gloria, this Choose the Challenge. So we're here talking about giants within the African American community, but there's so many lessons that we can learn. And we know that it's important to know our history so that we can influence and shape the future. Exactly. But if we don't know our history, it's sort of like the blind leading the blind, knowing from the stock that which we came. And when we're saying we're standing on the shoulders of giants, we really are. I mean, these individuals, giants in your respective community, your parents, people who have influenced you, that gave you a leg up when you yet were not even able to stand.
Yes.
And so the one thing that I love about us as a people, and I'd like to turn it over to you to kind of close on this, is overall, we are known as a people of faith. We are a faith walking people, and that faith that that reliance on God, those old gospels, those old hymns, or what has carried our ancestors through. And the prayers of the grandmama, right? All of those, I mean, that's our culture. That's our heritage. God is our heritage.
Exactly.
And so I want to turn that over to you. I'm going to take myself down and let you talk a little bit about that with our
people. Okay, thank you. Well, I want to say 2 Corinthians 4:13 says, speak life and not death. And since we have the same spirit of faith, as the word says, according to what is written, I believe and therefore I speak. And as we believe, therefore we speak, knowing that, that the Lord God has raised Jesus up and that we will be with him in the end. And I want to say to you women, to you men, you young people, stand firm in what you believe. Stand firm in your faith, and trust the God that's in your life. I believe, therefore I speak. I believe, therefore I act. I believe, therefore I leap. You may not have it all written down. You may not have the plan all together. But at the end of the day, write the vision. Make it plain enough that a 3-year-old can pick it up and read and run with it. Therefore, you'll be able to consciously see where you're going, where you're headed, and you allow the Holy Spirit to guide and lead you in the way that you should go. And God is not the author of confusion. So if you keep your vision and your mission simple enough, then a giant may come along and pick it up and read it and fund your project. This has been Gloria Fleets with Veterans Metroplex Corporation, VMPCINC.com. And we are standing with you in faith. We are standing with you in hope. And we hope that you are anchored deep down so that you can grasp hold to what God has for you in this time and in this day and in this hour. The season is yours. Lay hold on it. This has been Gloria Fleets. Thank you so much, LaWanna Bradford.
Thank you. I love that. That is a drop the mic moment. Thank you so much, Gloria, for joining me on this platform. It's always a pleasure to work with you and just share our stories, share our life lessons, and I believe that this will touch and give some ahas to people along the way. And
yes,
like you said, Gloria, you never know who's watching you. You never know what opportunity may be there. That person of influence may cross your path, or you may find yourself in this seat of influence to help someone else along the way. Right?
That is correct. That's correct. Because LaWanna is an influencer too.
Oh, thank you. Well, to our listening audience, this has been another edition of Choose to Challenge with my guest, Miss Gloria Fleets, as we talked about standing on the shoulder of giants. And we ask that you continue to be safe, stay faithful, and just remember that when your vision intersects with opportunity, meaning those giants that may come across your path, success, elevation is inevitable. Until next time, bye everyone.
Bye-bye. Be blessed.